Okay, so hello, I'm Diane Sears and I'm the co-founder of Go for the Greens. So I want to welcome all of you today. We're so glad you could join us. And I'd like to welcome Cindy Chase, who is my co-founder, Cindy Wave. And Cindy Chase and I have been putting together conferences for women business owners and also other events for women business owners for about 13 years. And about 5 years ago, we started putting on conferences for young women, so women in high school through college. So through that, we've met some really fun and interesting people, and you'll meet some of them today. We're very excited about that. We have a couple of other people we'd like to introduce on the call. I just saw Patty Winstanley pop on. Patty, say hello. And Patty's on our board of directors, and we also have Billy Bryant Schultz, who is in charge of our, hi Billy, and Billy, we can't hear you guys, you're on mute. And then Billy Bryant Schultz is in charge of all of our mentorship programs all over the world. And then Barb Tulsky, wave at us, Barb. Barb is in charge of the mentorship program at the Go for the Greens conference, which happens every September at Walt Disney World in Orlando. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. We appreciate you being here. And now I'd like to turn our attention to our speakers today. We're so excited to have you all here. First, I'd like to introduce Leslie. Leslie, please introduce yourself and tell us your name, what school you go to, and where you're from.
Hi everybody, my name is Leslie and I'm from Texas. I am a junior along with a mental health activist at Harmony Science Academy in Dallas. I've been a mentee for Go for the Greens for 2 years now, and now I'm working as a junior advisor, and I look forward to seeing you guys on these weekly seminars.
Very good, thank you, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Jasmine. Jasmine, tell us your name, where you go to school, and where you live.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine and I'm currently a first-year student at UT Dallas, and right now I'm currently working with elementary school where I help mentor those younger kids. And like Leslie, I've also been a part of Go for the Greens and their mentorship program for 2 years now. And yeah, we're really happy to be a part of these weekly seminars.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Natalie Frederick Wilson. And Natalie, tell us who you are and where you're from and what your job is.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me back this week. As Diane said, I'm Natalie Frederick Wilson. I work and live in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I work at the Mount St. Vincent University as a business advisor and a student engagement manager for students who are looking to get into business and entrepreneurship or want business coaching or leadership training, and also young women who are looking to get into technology. So I run 2 programs. One is called Alliance for Young Women Entrepreneurs, and I have one student on here, Annika McDowell. Welcome, Annika. And I also run another program called a Spark program, and both of those programs provide students with the tools they need to ideate, start a business, or grow a business. And I specialize in helping young women not only talk about business, but become business owners.
That's very exciting. So as you know, Go for the Greens is all about entrepreneurship. And it's our hope that a lot of the people who go through our mentorship program will become entrepreneurs or consider becoming entrepreneurs. But at the very least, that you all will learn to think entrepreneurially wherever you go. If you can think like a business owner, you can pretty much go anywhere you want to go within a corporation or a government agency or a nonprofit or wherever it is that you decide to work. When you think like an entrepreneur, it really does put you at a different level above any of the competition. It makes you more responsible for your own career. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. Okay, so I want to go over a couple ground rules before we get started, and then I'd like to start with our questions and answers. It'll be really fun. So I hope everybody's ready for a good time. A couple of the ground rules. We have everyone on mute, and we also have your cameras on hidden. So if something happens and you see yourself on the camera or on the screen, just go ahead and put your camera on mute. If you have any questions, and we really do hope you do, there is a chat function with this. So play around with it and see if you can use it. When you chat, you can either chat with all of us at the same time, or you can private message anyone on the participant list. So we would really like to hear your questions for all of our 3 panelists. So, so with that, let's get started. Natalie, I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit. And if you can, please lead us through helping people with our seminar today, which is on how do you follow your dream?
So the first thing that I'm going to do is share my screen. Oops. Actually, let me go to your question. I'm going to put you on mute for a moment, okay? Hold on. Put me on mute for a moment. Okay.
So we're going to talk about how do you follow your dream. And for all of you on the call, this is really important. One of the first things you want to do while you're in high school or college is figure out where you're going. So it's kind of scary sometimes. You're out there, you're trying to decide whether you are going to go to college at all. And that's not necessarily, a given these days. A lot of people are looking for people in trades and that kind of thing. You don't have to go to college to become wealthy, to become happy, to become successful. But if you do want to go to college, where are you going to go? How are you going to get there? What do you need to be thinking about now? So if you're in high school, that's what you're looking at. When you're in college, you have to decide, what am I going to major in? How am I going to get to the finish line and graduate? All of these different things, all the things that that you're thinking about as you go. So it's all a very scary time, but it should be very exciting. All right, so now we're looking at Natalie's screen. So Natalie, go ahead and walk us through.
Okay. So hold on here. Great. Okay, so last week, for those of you who were here, we went through a pretty detailed vision questionnaire really quickly. And so this week, hopefully we have some time to go through it a little bit more. And I think they really help to expand on the topic for today. How do you reach your dreams, or how do your dreams come through for you? And so one of the ways that I like to talk to my students is I ask them to consider, if someone was asking you about your vision, what would you say? Because sometimes when we're thinking about the vision for ourselves, we can't see it. And so I always say to my students, imagine someone was interviewing you 1 year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. What would you say to them if they said to you, what is your vision? Or are you living your vision or your dream? Or are you meeting your goals that you have for yourself? And so the only way to do that, not the only way, but one of the ways to do that, is to answer a series of questions that don't make assumptions. So to be clear about your vision, to be clear about what is possible, you can think big or small because it's your vision. No one can tell you what your vision is or how big or small it's supposed to be. And so the way that you can do that is by going through the series of questions that are here. Picture living your dream. What does that look like? Sometimes it's hard for people to envision themselves doing something down the road because they're constantly in flux, changing. Well, I want to be a mechanic. I want to be a nurse, a teacher, because no time or thought is given to the future. One of the things that's important about planning your vision is you have to make time to do that. You can't plan your vision while you're texting on your phone and listening to music and on the bus while you're talking to your friend. If you're thinking about your future, you really have to give it some consideration and some time. So picture yourself down the road. Notice your surroundings. You know, I can see myself sitting at my desk. I'm the principal of a big school, and I'm talking to the teachers that are under my, that are on my team, or I'm sitting in my university. I'm doing my doctorate in science. I'm going to solve the COVID-19 problem that we have going on. What colors are you seeing? Why a color? Because if you are thinking that you are going to, for example, be the captain of a cruise ship, you're going to see blue, the ocean. You're going to see that big cruise ship. These things just help to add a bit of layer to what it is that you're thinking about. What are you doing? If you are thinking about the future and you're thinking in your mind you want to be a teacher, or you want to be a pilot or a policeman, and all you see in your vision is that you're relaxing on the beach, your vision and your goal doesn't line up. So one of the things that's important is knowing that when you see yourself in the future, it has a background. You know, it has layers, and it has a texture that you can see. Think about, you know, you're really hungry, and you're going home and you want your mother's favorite to fried chicken. You know what it smells like, you know what it looks like. Think about your vision for yourself like that. What what are you doing? Who are you talking to? What is your role? You see yourself 5 years down the road, you're working for a corporation. Are you the receptionist? Are you the administrative manager? Are you the accountant, if that's what your goal is? And who are you talking to? Who you plan to be down the road says a lot about who you're talking to. So if you are going to be a teacher, you can see yourself collaborating with teachers like yourself, talking with your principal. You can see yourself leading your students, right? And then if you think you're going to be a nurse, you can see yourself perhaps doing your internship. Or maybe you see nurses passing you on the street and you go, I'm going to be like them one day. I can see them when I go to the emergency room. I can see them hurrying around, doing their work and talking to patients through the triage process. And what makes you happy about what you're doing? Because visions and future, there will be feelings that are tied to that. What is positive about it? If you, for example, I know some of the questions that come later will be about someone else's vision for you. If, for example, your vision for, if your mom's vision for you to be a nurse, and you're working on the sciences really hard, and you're like, well, my mom wants me to be a nurse, so I'm going to be a nurse. And you look down in your mind and you see yourself in an emergency room, and there's a patient with their arm cut off, and you're thinking, get me out of here. Maybe that's not the place for you, right? And so do you feel excited about that? Is it positive? What do you see as a challenge? Well, the challenge may be sticking with something. The challenge may be, I don't have enough information about my dream, so I need to find out more. The challenge may be, I want to be a billionaire, but I really don't know where to start because I don't have any investment. Or the challenge may be, I simply don't want to put in the work that's required to reach that goal. And you have to be honest with yourself. And then what are others saying about your success is really, you know, that's tertiary. It's not the most important thing, but it's helpful when you have people encouraging you, when you have people giving you that slap on the back saying, great job, you reached your goal. I knew you wanted to be a police officer and you've done it. And here I am celebrating with you. So the other piece to this is the line at the bottom, writing down your vision. And the good thing about this is there are no wrong answers. Actually, they are wrong answers. The wrong answers would be if you let someone answer these questions for you because you have bought into what you think they want for you, right? So then you have a wrong, unless that person knows you really intimately and really has your best interest at heart. But I think there's something to be said for you first going over these questions in your room, in the library, on the bus, alone, figuring out what you think the answers to those questions would be, and tell your mom or a trusted friend or one of the ladies in Go for Greens, this is what I'm thinking. And then they can say, you know, Joan, someone says, I want to build floppy disk. Cindy might say, I really like your idea, but someone created floppy disk and we used them for 20 years and now we don't anymore. And so perhaps you need to rethink that. And so you can go and revise and then share again. So it's a process. A vision doesn't happen in, you know, within a test tube. It happens, it's a living, breathing thing that you can come back to all the time. And really, as you grow, as you learn, as you network, you revise and you build it out. And then sometimes what I say to my students is, every vision, a line in your vision can be erased if that's not something that you want to do. I run through this with business owners who are in ideation, and some people will say, oh, this is my vision. I want to be a doctor, lawyer. I want to be a this, that. And then as they start writing down the vision, and well, what do you have to do to get that? Well, you have to go to school for the next 20 years to have all of those positions that you're talking about. And so what happens is, sorry about that, what happens is that they realize, I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend 20 years in school. I'm going to cross that off. And I'm going to become more specific about what it is I want to do and how I'm going to get there, because I've already been in school for 12 years. I only want to go for 4 or 5 more. And even though I like these 10 occupations or these 10 things, I don't have the bandwidth, energy, time, money, and to complete all of these things and do all of them together well. And so a revise is a very important thing. And I think that's it for me for now.
Oh,
I have a question. So as someone who works with students making these lists, what is something that you notice a lot of people struggling with? Which question do they struggle with the most, and how did they find their way around that?
So I think the biggest thing that students struggle with is not so much going through the vision sheet. It is that sometimes students are concerned about what other people will think about their vision, right? Well, what if people don't, and I have to keep reminding them, this is your vision, not my vision, not your neighbor's vision. This is your vision. The other piece would be, sometimes students find it hard to envision themselves speaking from a position of power in the future because they shy away from interacting with adults, or they only spend time with peers, so they don't envision themselves talking to anybody, right? They're like, well, who would I talk to? Who knows anything about this? I don't know anybody. I know, but we're not talking about today. We're talking about down the road. And so I invite them to use their imagination, and I also invite them to consider people that they may see on TV or who they may meet, who can help them with, who can be a role model without being their physical role model. Do you know what I mean? Like, you may see someone on a YouTube video and you go, that person just answered my question. I think that's a really good point. That can help me with my vision. That can help me develop. So it's around developing the way you think about yourself down the road.
Okay. So Natalie, thank you for sharing your screen and definitely your knowledge.
You're welcome.
Do we have any questions from anyone who, okay, there's someone in the chat. Jasmine, would you like to read that, the person in the chat and what she's saying? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Oh, there it is. It says, I have an example of revising your vision if you want me to share, and that is from Barb.
Okay, hi Barb, and if you
Hi.
can let us know.
I didn't really think of it until Natalie said it, but I went to school and I got an engineering degree and I got my PE license and I decided that I wanted to become a lawyer. So I took the test and I was all set to go to law school, but then I had just gotten married and I started thinking about maybe we want to start a family. So the steps that I had to take to become a lawyer and start at the bottom again, I just didn't want to do. So although that was my vision, because of other circumstances, I decided not to go in that direction. And that's okay. It's okay to change your vision as you go. So I just thought of that when Natalie had said hers. So
Yeah.
figured I'd share that.
Barb, I think you bring up a really good point, and if you'd stay with us for a minute, we've talked about this before. No matter what you study in high school and college, when you come out into the real world, that degree that you have, the degree might be important, but the what the degree is in is not always important. It's people when they get out into the real world, careers kind of take you on different paths, and it always fascinates me how people started off wanting to be one thing and studying one thing and then became something completely different. Can you speak to that, Barb?
Sure. Even any degree, whether it's business, nursing, like you had talked about, engineering, whatever, all it teaches you to do is how to think in a certain direction. Because you think with nursing, you could be an emergency room nurse, you could be in administration, you can, work at a doctor's office. There's so many different stems that come from that tree. You don't really know what you're going to like until you get out there and you start doing it. So you just have to be open. You have to be open to whatever comes your way.
I'm going to ask the same question from Cindy because you're on. If you can put yourself off mute. Cindy, tell us what you studied in college, and take yourself off mute and tell us what you studied in college and what you wound up being when you retired.
No, my story's too long, and the only way you can hear my story is when you come to go for the Greens in September. God willing, we can all make it. But
you studied, right?
Yeah, I studied. I studied a lot of different things. I changed my major 14 different times. How I got to where I am is a longer story than we have, because we only have. If I do math right, 33 minutes, right, Barb, and you STEM people. The long story short is, for me, my father, I grew up in a military family, and I changed my major 14 times. And at one point, my father said, he called me an unguided missile. And I pretty much was. And I was, just going everywhere and following everybody wherever they were going. And I ended up majoring in history and political science, and ended up being a marketing person and a director for UPS. So I love what everybody is saying right now. So for you, I'm going to call everybody young leaders of tomorrow. Please, I know that this is a lot, and we're going to keep doing these events, and we're going to get more people from around the world on these events. Ask the questions, listen to the people that are talking to you, because this is a lot of good information. But Diane, you just threw me a curveball. I wasn't supposed to talk. I'm supposed to manage the chat room. And
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I know that you can see me a little bit in my hair. I'm having another bad hair day, but ask the great questions, ladies.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Barb. We appreciate it. So Natalie, if we can go back to you, when you were in college, what were you thinking you were going to be?
So initially, I dreamed of being an executive chef, I even started out right out of high school working in a 5-star hotel. And as when I graduated really early when I was 15. And so I had some time where I could explore that occupation. And so my principal at the time was able to get me this work term, you can call it, at this 5-star hotel where I could work in the kitchen. I loved every minute of it. It was wonderful. Then I kept going after that, and I was like, okay, I want to go to culinary school. That was the only thing that I could see myself as. And finally, I got accepted to the Culinary Institute of America in New York, and I was going there. However, while I was thinking about going to culinary school, in between the break of graduating and going to actually culinary school, you had to be 18. So I went to work in a bank. While working in the bank, I started having pain in my wrist. And so I did the exams to get into culinary school, got a scholarship, and then could not continue because I had terribly injured my wrist. Not injured, but I developed carpal tunnel and had to have hand surgery. And so the demands of a culinary lifestyle, chopping all day, cutting all day, lifting all day, my thumb and between my thumb and my pointing finger would be swollen all the time. And so right there, it was like my dream of doing that was like spinning out of control and not going where I wanted it to go. And so my mother said, well, you wanted to do that, and what else can you do? I always liked teeth. So before you know it, I signed up to be a dental hygiene technician. I went to dental hygiene technician school. So, and then for 15 years, I worked in dentistry. So it was one of those things where, and I mean, through various levels of dentistry, I ended up working with a very highly skilled team in New York City that did prosthodontic reconstructive dentistry for people who had trauma. And so it was nowhere close to where I thought I was going to be, but I was able to continue my dream in my own way. Of still cooking. I owned a small cooking school at one point, and today I have a little cooking show that I do on Facebook. So I wasn't able to live my dream from the standpoint of a career, but I can still live it out in different ways. And here I am today working for a university.
That's amazing. What a great story. Thank you for sharing with us. You just never know what's going to happen.
You never know.
No. I know I was in high school and I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I thought I was going to write the great American novel. So I always wanted to be a writer. And I was in high school and I was trying to get into the yearbook class because that's where all the cool kids were and that's what I wanted to do. And I switched high schools and found out that class was full. And they said, well, you're going to have to be on the newspaper staff in the newspaper class. And I said, that's for nerds. And I was a nerd. I mean, I was in the Math Honor Society, as Cindy knows, and the National Honor Society. But so I went into newspaper class and I never looked back. I became a newspaper reporter, a newspaper editor, and I did that for many years until about 20 years ago, I started my own company and I'm still a journalist. So that was a complete accidental, tripped into it and have absolutely loved it. So, my story is a little different because I always knew that I wanted to be on that one track, but all the different careers I've done in writing have been quite different. I can see that Miss Billy Bryant Schultz has joined us. And Billy, I'd love for you to take yourself off mute and tell us what your original career goal was and how you got where you are today. That's an interesting story too.
Well, I want to speak to Natalie's revise. And it seems like I've been constantly having to revise my career. But I did graduate from college with a business degree and actually had a kind of a different job. It was in the medical field. And but then after my late husband became very successful in the business, I started doing things within the community, fundraising, and with my church and with the PTA and all of these different things, never dreaming that I would be an entrepreneur. However, when things happened in my family, it became critical that I take over the role of a company. So I think that you need to prepare yourself, even though I knew all along that I had creative skills. I was actually taking a design class in college when this happened also. So revised my track one more time, and all of a sudden I'm the owner of a business and I'm supposed to grow this business. So through the years, this business was only an office equipment repair shop. Today, it is an IT equipment, software solutions and services company that is a value-added provider for Xerox, HP, Lexmark, Ricoh Brother, and Rubrik in cloud data protection and management services. So the company has been constantly evolving ever since I went there. And it's even more today over on the creative side with STEAM, in which we're very engaged in. And I'm very happy to bring that part of the industry to Go for the Green, which we did last year. And I hope we'll be able to be more focused, even though we are focused on entrepreneurship. STEM and STEAM, I believe, is very critical for young girls today.
Okay. Well, thank you, Billy. And I want to spell out STEM means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then when you call it STEAM, you're adding in the arts, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's a very, very important piece of the puzzle, because there aren't enough women in STEAM right now. And one of our goals is to try to get more young women to think about these science, technology, math pieces as a career. I see Patty Winstanley popping onto the screen. Patty.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up two things. Leslie, there so you can follow. Leslie wants to be a writer, and she also is amazing at baking. So you and Natalie should have some conversations, and Diane after this. I also wanted to say that I have changed my career from a school teacher. Well, first I was a receptionist and made copies, but I was in an office by myself. And those of you that know how much I talk know that didn't work. And then I was a school teacher. And then I went to be a licensing agent, to show my age, back before you could ship even an Apple or an IBM overseas. You had to get a license from the Commerce Department. And I did that for 8 years. And then I went back to teach. And then I owned a promotional company for 15 years. And now I'm a consultant. So you can, and one just led to the other. But the one thing I wanted to say about also is that Leslie is also making a difference in the organization that she's running that helps teens with suicide. And then bring up Billy, which she's going to kill me. But Billy has made such a big difference in the lives of women-owned businesses. Billy was one of the original founders of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, which is a certification agency for women-owned businesses. And without Billy and a handful of others, nobody that's a certified women-owned business would have the opportunities that we have today. So when you're looking at your vision, think about what you love. Like for a while I worked at the zoo. I loved it. And if I could have stayed at the zoo, out in those barns with the animals for the rest of my life, I would have been happy. So, but I couldn't do that forever, so I just did it as a volunteer. So think about the ways that not only can you change your career, but you can take the things that you love and build them into something that you can make a difference, like Leslie's doing and like Billy did.
All right. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
We can see
Thank
your
you, Patty.
ducks in the background, how much you love animals.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to change tack a little bit, and we want to have some questions posed by our esteemed junior ambassadors. So Leslie Garcia Medina and Jasmine Alanis. I'm sure I've mispronounced that again. So, so if the two of you, I know you have some great questions you want to ask, you can direct them to Natalie, you can direct them to anybody you've heard from, or just direct them in general and see if who else pops into our show. Who wants to go first?
Leslie, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, so the first question we had was, we kind of already went over this. I don't know if Miss Cindy or Miss Ann wants to add on, but how do you work around a parent who has already planned your future? So an example would be for me, you know, for a long time, I've always had a passion for writing and for baking, but my parents want me to become a lawyer or work in the medical field. So that's something, living in a Christian household, you know, there's um, a disciplinary level that we have to follow. So how do you work around that? How do you reach out to your parents, or what's something that you can do to kind of help get to where you want to be without creating any troubles, you could say?
Natalie, please help us.
Oh dear. So, as I was saying last week, I come from a Christian household as well, and in our culture, you know, I said last week, you're a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer, or something like that, and to the point where, you know, in our family culture, you know, we the way that my parents, especially my mother, instilled that in us is she bought us books, you know, because she wanted us to read and read and read, right? Because if you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, you have to develop those skills. And so, as I'm going to answer your question about yourself first, like how do you manage at home? So you can share your thoughts and your what it is that you want to do with your parents, respectfully, of course, but the proof is in the pudding. If you say, I want to be a baker, but you don't bake anything at home, you don't try out recipes, you don't bake things and let them try it, right? Then how do they catch the vision? You have to, if you have a vision for yourself, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk, right? And so sometimes your actions speak louder than your words, because, okay, you have parents, hopefully as Christian parents, they believe in giving you good counsel, but they believe that you also have opinion, and you have a heart, and you have a, you know, a desire to do something that is put there, if they believe, by a higher being, right? Well, you have to deal with it from their standpoint, right? Because you brought up the point of Christianity, and so you sit down and talk to them. Mom, I know what you're, but I really like. Did you remember that lemon meringue pie that I made for you last week? Wasn't it lovely? You have to help them catch your vision, and it's more based on what you do than what they do. If you say, I want to be a journalist, but you don't read books and you don't write anything, they're going to think that they need to keep putting their vision on you, because they're going to think, well, if we don't help her to do something, she's not going to do anything. So you, at this stage, you're old enough to be in the kitchen, trying recipes, getting the ingredients together, and let them see you so they can get excited about your vision, and you will win them over if you do that.
Great advice.
Yeah, I think. So in the chat, Miss Barb said, why do your parents want to be a lawyer? Or I'm guessing she meant, or a medical person. And Miss Patty said, John became a lawyer, then used that knowledge to become a famous author of books like The Firm, The Pelican Brief, and The Runaway Jury. So for Miss Barb, a little story. My father's sister, my aunt, actually was born visually impaired on one side, like on one of her eyes. And so they live in Mexico, and at the time, the doctors there, or the technology wasn't as advanced. And so she went into surgery to fix one of, like, part of her eyesight, and they eventually ended up damaging the other eye, and so now she's fully, you know, like she can't see. And so obviously back then, you know, my grandparents didn't know how to do anything about the situation. You know, they lost their home, they lost the land that they owned. And so I guess it's more out of the feeling that my dad gets that he wasn't able to do anything about that situation. And so, you know, he's always telling me, like, you know, you could work in the medical field, go back to Mexico and help kids over there, help families. If you become a lawyer, help families go and defend themselves towards like things that are going on that they can't do anything about. And so, I mean, I guess just the pride and joy of saying, like, you know, my daughter's a nurse or my daughter's a lawyer. But I think that at the end of the day, they do it not because they're wanting to force me, because they've always told me, you know, you do what makes you happy. But it would be nice if you, you know, become something that could go back and help people in Mexico. So
that is a great, you know, description of my question, because I didn't know if they just wanted to say, oh, I think a success is a lawyer or a medical person, but they really have a background, an ulterior motive, and they probably figured you're very smart and you can do anything, so why not do that to help out? So I can understand as a parent.
The other thing that I want to say about this is you also have to help them see you, right? So if they want you to be a medical person helping people, I don't know if it's you, but I thought that, or you, or I forgot the other young lady's name here.
Jasmine.
Yes, is it you that help people who are going through depression and suicide?
yes, yes.
You were already living your parents' dream.
Exactly.
Okay, so you have to help them see you. Dad, look, I am an advocate for people who have medical issues. I could possibly be a depression recovery therapist, or you know, psychoanalyst, psychotherapist. I could be someone that becomes a medical advocate for people who need help through their suicidal and depression thoughts. You are already doing that, but you have to be able to help them see that, because I'm a child of an immigrant myself, and sometimes the way that they look at these things are based on many layers that you are not experiencing because you did not live that life. So you are living their dream. You just need to articulate that to them.
I agree with Natalie that you need to tell them more about your suicide prevention organization and the results you're getting there. And maybe even get them involved would be a key thing.
And then I just wanted to add in that almost every kind of
So
career get into those writing skills, if you're interested in writing, going into anything like a medicine or a law or anything, those writing skills really come in handy. So journalists don't make a lot of money as a given rule. I mean, maybe if you went into TV journalism and you became, you know, one of those people in 60 Minutes or something, but as a general rule, so they might be concerned about that too, just making sure that you have enough money to get by in life. And if you work in a nonprofit and as a journalist, you know, you're not going to maybe support yourself, they're thinking. But those writing skills, you can convert those into all kinds of careers as well. So you were going to say something else, Leslie.
Oh no, that was it.
Someone sent a private message on here and asked me to tell you this, that sometimes you can have an adult your parents know who also knows you, intercede and talk with your parents, and say, you know, whether it's a teacher or one of their friends or someone you know, and just run interference for you. So that's another idea. And I know this question wasn't supposed to be about you, but that's pretty cool that we
Hey, this is Cindy real quick, if you don't mind, and Jasmine and Leslie, thanks. You guys are doing a great job. I'm the timekeeper. So I just want to make sure that we've only got like 9 minutes left, I think. But there's a lot of other leaders of tomorrow on the call right now. So I wanted to just say a couple things before we move on, because next week we're going to have another webinar. For those of you that are on the call right now, just know that we've expanded our we'll call our, not our chat room, but our session, so that we can have more people. So if you're blogging to people, we're going to have other speakers and folks that are going to talk about things that could be more pertinent to what you're going through right now. What we're doing as an organization is we're just trying to reach out to all of you to make sure that while you're in the four walls of your house with your mom and your dad or your parents, you're able to have a place that you can go to other than, you know, being with your teachers and with your families. This is a place for you during the time, for those of you that are on the call right now, that you can learn. Any question that you ask, there's no question that's silly. You might say, hey, you know, next week, can you talk to me about being an astronaut, or can you talk to me about, you know, whatever the case may be. You all took the time today to be on this call or webinar. Obviously, you want to be better than what you already are. So just I encourage you, for those of you young leaders of tomorrow that are on this, to open up questions and become the person or the young leaders of tomorrow more so than you already are. So we've only got, you know, so many minutes to wrap it up.
No, we'd like to hear something from Jasmine too.
Yeah, I have a question. So earlier Natalie mentioned that a lot of students shy away from their vision, and my question is, how do you get over that insecurity or any insecurities, such as like comparing yourself to other students or not applying for an internship because you're afraid you won't get it? And for the girls in high school who have this dream school in mind and they don't want to apply because they're afraid they won't get in, how do you get over insecurities like that?
I don't know, truthfully. We have this insecurity monster that we try to eat every day. You know, don't be insecure. You can get over it. We may never get over insecurity. Why do I say that? In order to grow, you have to be courageous. I am 43 and I still deal with rejection and insecurity around different things. Sometimes it's based on things that I think, and sometimes it's based on things that I think I know. And so a lot of times we have this thing in our mind that tells us, you can't do this, you're not good at this, and one thing that I tell myself is, you cannot believe everything you tell yourself. So I kind of self-talk myself. Everything that I say to myself is not true, right? We have big imaginations, and so you can manage rejection, but you cannot get rid of it. You cannot get rid of that fear completely. Part of that fear helps to protect you, one. Part of that fear helps to keep you moving forward, and dealing with comparing yourself is something that I think we will always do. The thing about it is that you also have to have that positive talk with people that you trust and care, who you trust and who they care for you. If you have some people around you, for example, I was talking about spending too much time with your peers. So if you always spend time with people who are your age and they all have fears just like you, so your fears feed off of their fears and their fears feed off of you. Well, what do you think? You think I should? But if you start hanging out with people like Billy and Diane and whatever, what happens is, birds of a feather flock together. As you spend time with these people, you will start to give yourself an opportunity to say, I was feeling afraid about applying for this job, but I see what Billy has accomplished. I'm going to do it.
Jasmine, I would like to remind you of your successes. And with your elementary students, you remember the story you told me? How it was hard in the beginning?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Tell that story.
Yeah, so I had no experience whatsoever taking care of children. And the first day I walked in there, it was a nightmare, honestly. They wouldn't listen to me. They were running around, and I had absolutely no control over them. And that day I was like, I can't do this. I'm gonna quit. And I had already written up the email, but then I realized, like, it's the first day. Obviously, things like this happen. So I just tried it out for 2 weeks, and then I kind of got the groove of it. And children will be children, but yeah.
And now you're successful with the program of teaching
Yeah.
with math.
Hmm.
Yeah, but just to my point, you thought and you believe something about yourself, and then when you realize, why am I believing this about myself? I just got started here. And then you yourself overcame that fear and that doubt by talking to yourself and saying, I didn't even really give this a try yet. So let me give it a try and see what happens. And so part of that fear and rejection is you saying, I'm going to give this a good college try. I'm going to put my hand in there and see what I can do. And you may feel fear with something else, but the more you try, the more you become courageous around trying. You will still feel feelings of rejection, but they will lessen in each situation.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice. There were another couple questions that came in. Leslie, do you want to take one?
Yes. Lauren said, how do you completely rid yourself of other people's expectations for you and your future? And how do you figure out what you truly want to do without pressure from others?
Are you asking me that question or just everybody? I can answer. Okay. You cannot rid yourself of other people's expectations. It's their expectations. They're not yours. Right? And so some people say, well, I'm only a kid. This one is older than me. It's still the same. You cannot rid yourself of someone else's disease, right? I'm not saying you cannot respect other people's expectations for you. For example, I have 2 children and I have expectations for them around behavior and so on and so forth. Those are expectations that can affect other people. If we're talking about expectations about your future, you have to realize and respect someone's what they think or their opinion. You can hear it, but you still cannot destroy that because that's what they think. And then how do you figure out what to do with that pressure? Well, you figure that out by getting your vision together. The stronger your vision is, the more you're able to answer people. I meet with entrepreneurs all the time. They're building a business plan for their business, but then they asked 15 people who've never had a business what they think. And I say, well, how can you get advice and how can you figure out what to do in your business from people who've never run one, right? You have to be able to, as you formulate your vision for yourself and someone says, you said, well, I want to be a carpenter. And then someone says, you know what, you're really tall. You should be a basketballer. And then you say, no, I'm going to be a carpenter. This is my vision. I've thought about it. I can see where my skills are. And this is what I want to do. So the more that you formulate your plan, when people come with their own pressure and expectations, you will have an answer for them. And eventually they will see that you mean what you say.
Hey,
And they'll back off.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna, I just want to interject on this one. First of all, whoever asked that question, that is, I admire that question that was asked, because I don't know if you're a sophomore in high school or a sophomore in college or what have you. If you already know what your vision is, then bravo. That is amazing, because that means that you've got a target, and you know what the bullseye is, right? So that is my first thing. I wish that I had that vision when I was your age, whatever age that is. I'm 56, who cares, right? But I wish that I would have had that vision. And you've already heard Barb, who said she was going to be a lawyer, which scares me to think that she could have done that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but to echo what Natalie is saying is, if you've got that vision, then you know what you want. So you're already ahead of the curve. Look at what, for those, if you're late to the call and you didn't hear about me, who was an unguided missile in my life, I didn't have that vision. I wish I would have had that vision and that passion, because who knows what Cindy Chase could have been. I would have liked to think that I've been successful. I've got the best business partner in the world, Diane Sears, but I really wish that I would have known what I have wanted to do. So if you have that, listen to what Natalie said, take it, embrace it, and step into your greatness. Step into your greatness, because you've already defined what you want. So step into your greatness.
Stay involved with this group, whoever asks those questions, because we will help you and we will give you the support to help you formulate your plans and just be there for you, because we have no ulterior motives. We just want to see you succeed.
There's a last question there. How would you deal with the important people in your life not supporting your dreams and them not respecting it? That's kind of related to Leslie's question about her parents wanting her to do X while she wants to bake, for example. So how do you deal with the important people in your life not supporting your dream? Well, first of all, you respect that they have a different dream for you. You don't get upset, you don't get angry, because that's their dream. You can't be upset with someone for their dream. Thank you that you're dreaming that I could be an astronaut. That's awesome, but that's not what I want for myself. So as you grow, you will learn how to articulate these things. And from the not supporting part, if you have someone in your life that is important, but they do not support your dream, what does that mean for you? If it's support financial, you may have a tough time, but if it's support for a dream, let's say your parents want you to be a doctor, but you want to be I don't know, a veterinarian. The wonderful thing about community and networking and groups like Go for the Greens is you will find support here. You will find support with the veterinary clinic, cooperation. You will find, there are many places to look for support. And so some people don't like some people may not find that support in their home for that particular thing. You celebrate the things you get support for at home, if the issue is at home, and then you find support in other places that are looking to provide that support, like here. It's a safe space, as Barbara Telsky was saying. It's a place that you can tell people your vision, and they can connect you with people that may support your dream. If they're being disrespectful about your dream, then perhaps you cannot share it with them. You have to have a safe boundary. I can talk about toys and cats and food with these people, but I cannot dispense my dream to them. So that is a boundary you have to put in place, and it has to do with self-control. I will talk to this person about these things, but with my dreams, I will talk about them in the Go for Green space and find other people there that support me. So that has a lot to do with setting boundaries, even with the people that love you.
Well, on that, Natalie, thank you for that great advice. And I have actually used that advice throughout my life in dealing with, even my own mom, but other people, and just saying, I have to be surrounded by people who are positive about this dream that I have. And if you're not on board with that, that's okay. But that means that we're not going to discuss it. So I'm not going to discuss my dreams with you. We can talk about other things, shopping or TV shows or whatever. So So yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to have those honest conversations with people you care about, whether they're your friends, your parents, your siblings, or whatever. So hey, we have a cute little dog picture now. Barb, say hello.
All right. So
I wanted to see, we are out of time, so I wanted to see if Jasmine and Leslie had any other things that you wanted to add as we wrap up.
Yeah, if any of the girls on the call, I'll put my email down on the chat if they have any ideas for the next webinars or any questions that they really wanted to ask, so we can have it next time. I'll put it down on the chat.
We also have an Instagram page where we'll start hopefully our fundraising program soon. So I'll leave the Instagram page down too. And I mean, I'll leave my Instagram, my social media, everything is the same thing. So if you guys, like Jasmine said, want to add on to anything that you guys want for next seminar, or even if you guys just want to talk about something that you might have not wanted to talk about on here, then you could feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, we hope you have a good rest of the week.
Can I give a suggestion?
Sure, yes.
So if you put that stuff in the chat, when Diane closes the chat, it's going to disappear. So perhaps as a follow-up, if you want to share that information, you can send that out to all the people that were registered, and then that way they have it in email.
Okay, I will make sure that I provide you all with the list, and we can start that conversation.
Can I say something real quick before you close the chat, Diane? Diane's like, yeah, I hope that Cindy gets cut off any minute because my internet works really bad. So first of all, I'm going to challenge that you are a true mathlete. Patty Winstanley, if you're still on here, I know nothing about you wanting to be a zoo person. Barb, I am really happy that you wanted to be a lawyer. And Billy, you are my idol, that you have done so well with your business and you have this vision for the program. So for those of you young leaders of tomorrow that are on the call, please pass this information along on your blogs or whatever you all do to get the message out. We're going to keep this thing going on. And when Leslie just said what she said about fundraising, Go for the Greens, we have a mentorship program. When you go on Go for the Greens website, we do have a program that's at our event in September. If you don't know about it, go on the Go for the Greens website, fill out a mentorship application. We only allow 40 young leaders of tomorrow to come to the event. And if you're interested, just fill out the application. And in the interim, hopefully in September, we're going to be able to have that event. But in the interim, just continue to jump on these calls and keep asking the questions, because you've got a lot of folks on this call that have a lot of knowledge, and we only want to see you be successful today and tomorrow and always your future.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Jasmine, Patty, Billy, and Barb. Thanks everyone for being with us today, and we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your invitation.
Natalie.